There comes a moment in life when you realize that silence is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. Too many people confuse stillness with surrender, but silence, when chosen with awareness, becomes a sword sharper than words and a shield stronger than anger. There are times when speaking only diminishes your power, while staying quiet allows karma, the law of cause and effect, to handle what you cannot. Think of it not as doing nothing, but as stepping aside to allow a greater law to work on your behalf. When you master this art, you no longer feel the constant need to explain, defend, or prove yourself. Instead, you begin to stand like a mountain, unmoved by storms, unshaken by winds, and untouched by the noise around you. The first truth we must grasp is that silence is not emptiness. Silence is full of clarity. It is a discipline. It is a declaration of confidence in the unseen balance of the universe. When someone wrongs you, mocks you, or disrespects you, your mind races with the urge to retaliate. Your chest tightens. Your pulse rises. Your ego demands a response. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, what is gained if I descend into their chaos? What is lost if I surrender my peace for a few seconds of verbal revenge? In silence, you preserve your dignity. In silence, you remind yourself that your energy is precious and cannot be wasted on proving a point to people who thrive on conflict. There are 7 powerful moments in life when silence becomes not just wise, but necessary. These moments are the hidden tests of maturity, the gates through which only those with self-control can pass. And when you choose stillness in these moments, karma begins to work silently on your behalf. The first of these is when you are baited by disrespect. Not every insult is worthy of your energy. Some people thrive on provoking, pulling you down to their level. The moment you respond with anger, you give them exactly what they want, your attention. Silence denies them the fuel. The absence of your reaction becomes their mirror, forcing them to face the emptiness of their own behavior. The second moment comes when you are trapped in arguments made in bad faith. Some people never want resolution. They argue not to find truth, but to waste your time. Their words twist, their reasoning bends. Their goal is not clarity, but confusion. You may be tempted to explain, to defend, to prove, but no explanation will ever be enough for someone who has no intention of listening. In such times, silence is liberation. It is walking out of a theater where the play was written only to frustrate you. When you stop engaging, you stop feeding their performance, and without your energy, the show collapses. The third moment is when emotions flood your mind. In anger, your tongue becomes a weapon that wounds not just others, but yourself. Words spoken in rage are like arrows released from a trembling hand. They cannot be recalled. Many people regret the damage caused by what they said in heat, wishing later that they had paused. In such moments, silence is protection. It gives you a space to breathe, to ground yourself, to allow the storm inside to settle before you act. The silence of restraint is not weakness. It is the wisdom of not letting temporary emotions create permanent scars. The fourth is when gossip circles your name. Rumors spread quickly, whispers travel faster than truth, but none of them define you. If you chase every whisper, you exhaust yourself trying to clean stains that were never real. Silence is your defense here. When you continue living with integrity, when your actions consistently reflect your values, the truth reveals itself in time. Gossip has a short life, but character has permanence. By refusing to react, you show the world that lies cannot distract you from your purpose. The fifth moment is when envy tries to pull you down. Understand this. Envy is not about you, it is about the other person's dissatisfaction with themselves. Your light makes their shadow feel darker. If you explain yourself to envy, it grows stronger. If you lower yourself to justify your blessings, you diminish what you have worked for. Silence in the face of envy is a statement of faith. You keep building, keep moving forward, and let karma weigh their bitterness against your persistence. Eventually, their envy consumes itself, while your progress continues to shine. The sixth moment is when betrayal reveals itself. Betrayal shakes the ground beneath your feet, leaving you in disbelief. The temptation to expose, to confront, to demand answers is strong, but sometimes silence is the greatest exposure. You do not need to campaign for the truth. Betrayal carries its own evidence. When someone breaks your trust, the cracks eventually show. By stepping back and choosing silence, you allow karma to unveil what words might only complicate. You preserve your dignity, and in time, others will see the truth without you ever needing to raise your voice. The seventh and final moment is when the lesson is louder than the event. Not every situation requires your voice. Some require your ears, your observation, your reflection. Silence is a classroom where the greatest lessons are taught. When you hold your tongue, you begin to hear not just others, but yourself more clearly. You see patterns you missed, truths you ignored, and wisdom that was always waiting. By choosing silence, you create space for growth. You align yourself with karma by stepping out of the way and allowing life to teach its lesson. So you see, silence is not empty. It is a powerful response. Every time you remain silent in these 7 moments, you invest in your own peace and you trust the law of cause and effect to do its work. Karma may not act instantly, but it never forgets. Your silence is the signal that you have handed over the situation to a higher balance. It is the reminder that while you cannot control others, you can control yourself, that control is your freedom, that silence is your strength, and that strength is the foundation of an unshakable life. When you practice this discipline of quiet power, you begin to walk differently. People notice a calmness in your presence. They sense that you are not easily shaken, not easily baited, not easily dragged into battles that do not matter. Your silence becomes your signature. And in that silence, karma works silently, steadily, and inevitably, delivering justice in ways words never could. Disrespect is one of the sharpest tests life places before us. It cuts quickly, not because of what is said, but because of what it awakens within us. Our pride, our ego, our sense of dignity, all flare up in an instant when we feel dishonored, and the natural instinct is to respond, to defend, to prove ourselves, to strike back with equal force. But this instinct is also the trap, for disrespect is rarely about truth, it is about provocation. It is not an invitation to dialogue, it is bait, and the one who takes the bait feeds the cycle, while the one who stays silent steps out of it. You must understand this: when someone disrespects you, they are not speaking from a place of wisdom, they are not guided by clarity, kindness, or fairness. They are acting from their own wounds, their own envy, their own frustrations. What they throw at you is not truth, it is projection, and when you allow yourself to be pulled in, when you argue, shout, or defend, you do not elevate the moment, you descend into their storm. But silence, when chosen consciously, denies them the victory they are searching for. Your refusal to engage becomes your greatest answer. Think of disrespect like a flame. It wants fuel, your words, your anger, your outrage. If you give it oxygen, it grows. But if you remove the air, if you stay silent and calm, the flame suffocates on its own. Silence is not surrender. Silence is starvation for the fire of disrespect. The person who disrespects you is seeking your reaction, because your reaction validates their power. Without it, they stand alone with their bitterness, and that loneliness is their karma. Now I know silence feels difficult. In these moments, every nerve in your body screams to respond, your heartbeat accelerates, your mind prepares arguments, your ego demands recognition. But let me teach you the discipline of pause. When insulted, take 3 breaths. Do not underestimate this practice. Each breath pulls you back from the edge of reaction. Each breath reminds you that you are not here to dance to someone else's tune. With each breath, you return power to yourself. And when you do not respond immediately, you give your higher self a chance to choose wisely. That pause is where silence enters. That pause is where karma begins to act. Consider this truth: the one who disrespects you is already paying a price. They may not know it, but disrespect poisons its own source. A person who mocks, belittles, or insults is revealing more about their inner state than they are about you. They are declaring their immaturity, their lack of peace, their absence of control, and in time, the world sees it. You do not need to expose them. Karma exposes them through the consequences of their own actions. Their relationships suffer, their reputation cracks, their peace vanishes. This is why you do not need to waste your words. Life itself will speak for you. Imagine a scene: someone insults you in public, trying to embarrass you. If you shout back, you create a spectacle. People will remember the noise, not the truth. But if you stay calm, breathe, and remain silent, everyone notices something different. They see that their words did not shake you. They see that you are unbothered, grounded, and stronger than provocation. In that moment, silence becomes a teacher, not just for you, but for everyone watching. and over time, it is not the insult they remember, but the dignity of your restraint. You see, disrespect is a mirror test. When someone throws negativity at you, what will you reflect back? If you reflect the same anger, you become like them. If you reflect silence, you show them their own emptiness. You do not lower yourself. You rise above, and rising above is not about arrogance. It is about wisdom. It is about knowing that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on meaningless battles. This is not to say that you should tolerate all things. No, boundaries are necessary. But boundaries do not always require words. Sometimes the strongest boundary is silence followed by distance. When you walk away without responding, you are saying, I am not available for this kind of energy. That is a statement louder than any argument. Silence followed by consistent self-respect teaches others how to treat you. There is also a deeper truth here. Every time you react to disrespect, you give away a piece of yourself. You let others dictate your mood, your words, your peace. But when you remain silent, you reclaim that power. You show yourself that you are not controlled by external noise. This builds an inner strength that no insult can penetrate. Over time, you become unshakable. People will notice you no longer argue with fools. You no longer explain yourself to the jealous. You no longer chase validation. Your silence becomes a shield, and karma becomes your ally. Let me give you a practice called the invisible bow. Imagine that every time someone disrespects you, they hand you an arrow. Now you have two choices. You can fire it back at them, creating endless conflict, or you can place it gently on the ground and walk away. The second choice is silence, and when you do this consistently, you are no longer walking through life burdened by arrows. You are walking free. Karma will return their arrows to them in due time, but your hands remain clean. I will tell you something. Disrespect is temporary, but your reaction can be permanent. Words fade, but the scars of your anger can remain. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence prevents you from building regrets. It saves you from words you wish you could take back. It keeps your energy focused on what matters, your path, your goals, your peace. And when you choose silence in these moments, you are not letting them win. You are winning by refusing to lose yourself. One day you will look back on the times you were disrespected, and you will realize that silence protected you. The insults that once burned will no longer matter. The people who tried to provoke you will have disappeared from your life. But the dignity you carried, the calm you held, the silence you chose, those will remain, and karma will have done its work silently, bringing justice in ways your words never could. So remember this, not every battle deserves your sword. Some battles are won by putting your sword down and walking away. Not every insult deserves your voice. Some are best answered with silence and trust. Trust in karma, trust in time, trust in the strength of your stillness. For the one who stays silent in the face of disrespect does not lose, they ascend. There is a reason the old masters always taught, never speak when your heart is trembling with fire, when emotions rise like a storm inside you. Every word you speak becomes lightning, bright for a second but destructive when it strikes. Too often we believe that expression is strength, that releasing our anger in words proves we are powerful. But the truth is this, a mouth controlled by rage is not power, it is weakness. True power is when you can feel the fire inside and still hold your silence until the flames turn into light. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed by anger, jealousy, fear, or sorrow. Did your words in that moment bring clarity, or did they add more confusion, more distance, more regret? Emotions are waves, and when they are high, they distort everything you see. In such moments, you believe you are fighting for truth, but in reality, you are fighting for your ego. You are trying to release pressure, not create peace. And when the wave passes, you often look back and realize that your reaction caused more harm than the situation itself. This is why silence is your best ally when emotions flood your mind. Silence does not mean suppressing your feelings, it means creating space for them to settle before you act. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the mud swirls endlessly, making the water cloudy. But if you place it on the table and leave it still, the mud begins to settle, and the water clears. Your mind works the same way. When emotions shake you, everything becomes unclear. Silence is that stillness which allows the mud to fall, revealing clarity beneath. Now, the difficulty lies in that exact moment when you feel overwhelmed, your chest tightens, your voice wants to rise, your hands want to point, your tongue wants to lash out. This is where discipline comes in. The first step is to breathe. It sounds simple, but it is profound. 3 deep breaths can create enough space for silence to enter. As you inhale, imagine you are drawing strength. As you exhale, imagine you are releasing the urge to react. Every breath is an anchor pulling you back from the storm. Without this practice, you are swept away. With it, you stand still while the storm passes. I will share a truth many people do not see. Silence in emotional flooding is not cowardice, it is intelligence. It is knowing that words spoken in fire cannot be undone. Once they leave your lips, they live forever in the memory of those who heard them. You may apologize, you may regret, but you cannot erase. Silence saves you from creating scars that need lifelong healing. Silence is a gift you give to yourself and to others. It prevents damage before it begins. Let me give you an image. Imagine a warrior holding a sword. In his rage, he swings wildly, cutting everything in his path, even those he loves. Later, when his rage calms, he looks at the destruction and weeps. That is what speaking in anger does. But imagine instead that the warrior feels the rage, grips the sword tightly, but holds it still, breathing, waiting, grounding himself. When the storm passes, he sheathes his sword. Nothing is destroyed. No wounds are created. That restraint is not weakness, it is mastery. Your words are swords, hold them wisely. When your emotions flood you, silence also becomes your teacher. In that stillness, you begin to notice the deeper cause of your feelings. Anger is rarely just anger, it is often pain, fear or insecurity wearing a mask. Jealousy is rarely just jealousy, it is often your own sense of inadequacy being triggered. If you speak in the flood, you will fight shadows. But if you stay silent, you begin to see the real roots. You realize, I am not truly angry at this person. I am angry at the wound inside me they touched. That awareness is only born in silence, and when awareness comes, healing follows. Consider also how silence impacts others when you are emotional. If you lash out, the other person becomes defensive, and communication collapses. But if you remain silent, breathing, reflecting, you create space, not just for yourself, but for them too. Sometimes silence is the only bridge left in the storm. It keeps the door open for resolution later, once clarity has returned. But silence is not endless. It is a pause, not a prison. After the emotions settle, you must still address what needs to be addressed, but now with calmness, with groundedness, with wisdom. The silence gives you time to shape your words carefully, to choose responses that heal instead of harm, that clarify instead of confuse. In this way, silence transforms your relationships. People begin to trust your words more because they know you do not speak recklessly. They know your words are not reactions, but reflections, and trust is the foundation of every deep bond. I want you to reflect on this. How many arguments, conflicts, and broken ties in your life could have been avoided if silence had been chosen at the height of emotion? How many times could peace have been preserved if you had waited a few minutes, a few hours, or even a day before responding? This is the wisdom of silence. It is not about never speaking, it is about speaking at the right time, from the right state of mind. And karma rewards such discipline. When you remain silent during the flood, you prevent creating negative consequences. You stop the chain of hurt before it spreads. And in return, life aligns you with more peace. This practice will not be easy in the beginning. You will fail many times. You will still lash out. You will still react. But each time you practice silence, even for a few moments, you strengthen that muscle. Over time, you will notice that your silence grows longer, your patience deeper, your self-control stronger. And then one day, you will find that no matter how big the wave of emotion, you remain unshaken, like a mountain rising above the ocean. That is mastery. So when emotions flood your mind, remember this: silence is not nothing, it is everything. It is your shield, your teacher, your pause, your clarity. It is the space where karma begins to work on your behalf. Do not let your tongue become a weapon of destruction. Let your silence become the guardian of your peace. And when the storm passes, you will be grateful you chose to stay quiet, for silence will have protected not only your dignity, but your destiny. Gossip is one of the subtlest forces in life, yet it can cut deeper than a blade if allowed to invade your mind. It arrives disguised as concern, curiosity, or entertainment, but it is nothing more than energy diverted from truth into illusion. People speak of you in ways that are not true, twist your words, and spread narratives designed to unsettle you. The natural human response is to defend yourself, to clarify, to correct, to convince others of your reality. But every time you engage with gossip, you give it life, you feed it, and you become part of a story that was never yours to control. Silence, in these moments, becomes not just a choice, it becomes a shield, a master stroke, a deliberate act of wisdom that preserves your energy and lets karma handle the rest. Understand that gossip is never a reflection of who you are, it is a reflection of the one who spreads it. People gossip for a multitude of reasons: envy, insecurity, boredom, or the desire to manipulate perception. Their words reveal more about their inner state than yours. When you chase rumors, you participate in the distortion of reality, giving power to voices that do not honor truth. The moment you step out of the cycle, the gossip loses momentum. Silence is the most powerful statement you can make. It says, I am not defined by your words, and I will not waste my energy proving myself to those who refuse to see clearly. In the presence of gossip, your mind may feel restless, you may crave validation, or feel the need to clear your name. This is natural, but it is also the trap. Reacting gives the rumor a stage, and now your response becomes part of the narrative. Silence, on the other hand, is a refusal to be an actor in someone else's drama. By holding your tongue, you maintain the integrity of your energy. You conserve your strength for actions that actually matter: your work, your relationships, your growth. Karma, the natural law of cause and effect, will inevitably reveal truth. The gossiper will face the consequences of spreading falsehoods, while you continue forward untainted. Silence also gives you time to observe and understand the situation from a higher perspective. When you are quiet, you can discern who is loyal, who is motivated by truth, and who is motivated by manipulation. You see patterns that remain hidden to those who react impulsively. This discernment is invaluable. It allows you to respond not out of fear or defense, but out of wisdom, when action is truly necessary. The silent observer always has more clarity than the one who shouts to prove innocence. Consider the power of reputation over words. Reputation is built over years of consistent action, of living with integrity. Gossip is momentary and fleeting. If you have conducted yourself with honesty and authenticity, then no rumor can truly harm you. When you remain silent, your actions continue to speak for you. Time itself becomes the arbiter of truth. People will witness your consistency, your character, and your calmness. They will see that the accusations were baseless, and that the one who remains unshaken has always been aligned with reality. This is how karma works in the background. The truth manifests not through your explanations, but through the natural course of actions and consequences. Silence in the face of gossip is also an act of self-respect. To lower yourself to explain, to justify, or to argue with every whisper is to give away your dignity. Each explanation may win a momentary victory, but it costs you peace and energy. By choosing silence, you signal to the world and to yourself that your sense of self does not depend on the approval or understanding of others. You are grounded in your own truth, and nothing external can shake that foundation. This is the inner strength that allows you to move forward unburdened by distractions, free to focus on what truly matters. It is important to understand that silence does not mean avoidance. There are times when action is necessary, when falsehoods must be corrected through deeds rather than words. But even in those moments, the correction must come from calmness, clarity, and strategic wisdom, not from panic, anger, or the compulsion to react impulsively. A well-timed action rooted in integrity has far more power than hours of defensive speech. Silence is the preparation, the gathering of strength, the crafting of a response that aligns with your long-term goals rather than short-term satisfaction. Imagine the effect of remaining silent while gossip swirls around you. Initially, people may try to provoke a reaction to see if you will defend yourself. But when you consistently refuse to take the bait, the energy shifts, gossip loses its appeal, people realize that their words have no power over you, and more importantly, you remain undisturbed, calm, and focused on your purpose. This quiet strength becomes magnetic. drawing those who seek truth and repelling those who thrive on chaos. Karma ensures that the consequences of the false narratives eventually return to those who spread them, while your silence protects your inner world. Practicing silence in response to gossip also cultivates patience and wisdom. It teaches you to value long-term peace over short-term satisfaction. It trains your mind to discern which battles are worth fighting and which are best left to the natural order. Over time, you learn to trust that life itself administers justice. You no longer need to react immediately or with force. You understand that your calm presence, your integrity, and your continued focus on meaningful action are far more powerful than any argument or explanation. Finally, silence, in the face of gossip, strengthens your internal authority. You begin to define yourself not by the opinions of others, but by your own standards, your own values, and your own actions. This internal sovereignty is invaluable. When you claim it, external noise loses its influence. You no longer need constant validation. You no longer feel threatened by misrepresentation, and you no longer expend energy correcting every false statement. You become a master of your mind, a guardian of your peace, and a practitioner of karma in its truest sense. In every circle where gossip circulates, remember you are not required to speak, you are not required to defend, and you are not required to participate. By choosing silence, you protect your energy, preserve your dignity, and allow karma to work quietly on your behalf. The gossiper will face their consequences in time, while you continue forward, grounded, focused, and free. This is the art of responding to gossip, not with words, but with presence, not with defense, but with integrity, not with reaction, but with trust in the natural order of life. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds the human heart can endure. It shakes the foundation of trust, leaves scars in relationships, and challenges the very way we see the world. When someone you cared for or trusted turns against you, the initial reaction is a whirlwind of emotions: anger, disbelief, hurt, confusion. Your mind races, your body reacts, and your heart aches. In that storm, the impulse to respond loudly, to expose the wrong, to seek immediate justice, is almost unbearable. But here is the profound truth: in the face of betrayal, silence is not weakness. It is power, patience, and wisdom combined. When betrayal occurs, words often fail to capture the depth of the pain. They can inflame the situation further, entangle you in arguments that will never lead to resolution, or unintentionally reveal vulnerabilities to someone who has already shown themselves untrustworthy. Your anger might seem justified, but it can also be used against you. Silence, however, preserves your dignity and allows the natural law of karma to work in the background. Actions have consequences that words often cannot produce. Betrayal carries its own evidence, and over time truth emerges without the need for endless explanations. To practice silence in the face of betrayal requires discipline. It requires holding your tongue, even when every cell in your body demands release. This discipline is not about suppression of feelings. It is about choosing the timing and method of response wisely. Imagine standing in the aftermath of a storm. Debris is scattered, the wind howls, and the temptation to yell at the chaos is overwhelming. But if you remain still, assessing the damage calmly and deliberately, you can respond constructively rather than react destructively. This is what silence allows: perspective, clarity, and control over your own energy. Karma works through actions, not words. When someone betrays you, they initiate a chain of consequences that will inevitably return to them. By stepping back, you let life administer justice without the need for retaliation. The betrayer may attempt to manipulate, lie, or justify their actions, but over time, their true character will be revealed. Relationships built on deceit crumble under the weight of their own falsehoods. Opportunities they attempt to seize dishonestly will fail. Their own energy, driven by selfish motives, works against them. Meanwhile, your silence maintains your inner equilibrium and ensures that your future is not entangled in their chaos. One of the most important lessons in betrayal is learning to distinguish between what requires your response and what does not. Not every act of disloyalty demands confrontation. Some betrayals are minor, others profound, but all betrayals, regardless of scale, are opportunities to practice restraint and self-mastery. By choosing silence, you are not condoning the behavior. You are prioritizing your own growth and well-being. You create space to understand, reflect, and eventually decide how to move forward in a manner that aligns with your values and long-term goals. Silence also has a remarkable way of communicating strength without words. When a betrayer expects a reaction and receives none, they are confronted with your inner power. Your quiet composure becomes a mirror, reflecting their actions back upon them. They see that their attempts to provoke, manipulate, or humiliate have failed. This form of silent authority is more potent than confrontation because it cannot be argued with or diminished. It exists as a state of being, not a momentary response. Karma, in this context, acts naturally. The deceiver's actions, having been exposed by their own character, eventually return consequences to them without your interference. Another critical aspect of silence in betrayal is the protection of your mental and emotional space. When you respond impulsively, you are drawn into their energy, allowing anger and hurt to dominate your thoughts. Silence prevents this. It creates a barrier between your peace and their chaos. Your mind remains clear, your heart steady, and your focus intact. This is essential, because the energy you expend in responding to betrayal is energy that could be used for creation, growth, and positive influence. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you reclaim your power and direct it toward building your life, rather than fighting battles that serve no purpose. There is also a subtle but profound spiritual dimension to practicing silence in the face of betrayal. By refraining from immediate reaction, you align yourself with a higher law, the universal principle of cause and effect. You understand that life itself is the ultimate judge. You cultivate patience, inner strength, and faith that truth and justice will unfold in their own time. This perspective transforms betrayal from a purely negative experience into a lesson in self-mastery, resilience, and trust in the natural order. Consider the lesson that is louder than words. Often the most powerful response to betrayal is not a speech, not an argument, not a confrontation, but continued integrity and action in your own life. Your character, consistency, and accomplishments speak far louder than any defense. People notice patterns over time, they recognize authenticity, and they witness the consequences of dishonesty or betrayal without you needing to point it out. Silence magnifies the truth and amplifies the impact of your long-term actions. Betrayal also teaches discernment. It shows you who is truly loyal, who can be trusted, and who aligns with your values. When you practice silence, you allow time and observation to reveal these truths. You no longer act impulsively, but deliberately. You learn to protect your inner circle and invest in relationships that are reciprocal, honest, and nurturing. In this way, betrayal becomes a teacher, guiding you toward deeper understanding of human nature and the importance of strategic patience. In the end, silence in the face of betrayal is the highest form of self-respect and self-preservation. It allows karma to work naturally, it protects your energy, it prevents unnecessary conflict, and it cultivates wisdom. When you resist the urge to speak immediately, you demonstrate strength that cannot be taken away. You show that your peace is paramount and that no act of deception can diminish the integrity you carry within. Over time, those who betrayed you will face the consequences of their own actions, while you continue to rise, grounded in calm, resilient, and unwavering purpose. So whenever betrayal strikes, remember, silence is not inaction. Silence is armor, strategy, and clarity. Silence preserves your dignity, maintains your focus, and allows the natural order to restore balance. Words may wound or incite further conflict, but silence communicates power, patience, and wisdom. Trust in karma to act, trust in time to reveal truth, and trust in your own strength to remain unshaken, untainted, and steadfast. The betrayer may speak, manipulate, and deceive, but your silence will speak louder than their words ever could. This is the mastery of life, the art of standing strong, acting with integrity, and letting the universe balance the scales.